Let's talk about the impact of cycles throughout your year and throughout your life as you're applying yourself to your practice of awakening, of being more at peace with life and knowing what the big questions are. So I'm Jason for AwakenedEssence.com. I shall get out of your way so we can watch the sunset together. Cycles is something that will continue to happen when you're on the path to awakening. What can often happen is when you hit a good cycle, you feel good. And when you feel good, because there's no resistance, all of a sudden you think you're more present. But are you? It's very easy when life is flowing, things are going good, that the presence practice drops back. Now, as I say in this website, awakening is mathematical. And there you go, the spur-winged plovers to count it for us. It is so mathematical. If you stop applying your practice or apply it less when you're in a good cycle, what happens is you start drifting. Then that built-up habit, that built-in training that you've been putting in to remember, am I here? The practice of actually applying it, seeing how often you can do it, how deeply you can do it, how consistent you can be, drops away. But as with life, the cycles turn. And then all of a sudden, life starts getting a little bit harder. Ooh. And because the unpleasantness starts to happen in your body, there's more pain, there's pain body, situations crop up that aren't the best. Perfect timing on the boat. Being aware of your hands. Notice your tummy breathing. And if your practice is good enough, notice the difference in physical space between each of your hands and your tummy. And breathe into that space as you breathe in. Feeling inside your body. You can use things in life to trigger you into practice. That triggered me to remind you. They arrived right before I was going to start doing the video. Thank you, fish. The fish are happy. So, from the happy cycle, everything seems really easy. In fact, once you've gone through enough awakenings, you might find yourself in a period where you go into quite a lot of bliss really quite easily, and it seems to be quite durable during life situations, and you start to think, yay, I've got it. Oh, and then the autumn comes. There we go. Perfect timing. The noise gets louder. You start to lose your stillness. Oh my God, I've not been doing my practice. And then you have to work really hard just to try and get it back. The thing is, the next cycle is maybe you actually go into the hard cycle, into the winter cycle of your practice. Boy, and this is where you really got to grind to get your presence in, to feel that peace, that relief of the stillness. And you're practicing your ass off and you think, why the hell was I so slack when it was good? At least you can remember the time when it was good, but if you hadn't been practicing, then you might not really value how good it was. But if you had stayed committed to practicing, and it's in your success journal, you've been writing down your practice was, what sort of the nuances were, what kept you going, what deepened it, what didn't, what situations were happening that you were working through easily. If you're doing the success journal, you'll be picking up the nuances so you can define what it is you are doing. You can define your level of practice. You can define how much of your body you could feel when I say be aware of your hands, be aware of your tummy, and feel the space. You will be able to define that. It is definable. And the more definable at it you become means you are tuning your sensitivities, you are tuning your neurology into being here. And as you do that, you do be here more. Do be here more. sounds oxymoronical, but that's how it is. It is a practice. It is a conscious choice. Awake is the opposite of, which is what most of humanity is. They are running on autopilot. Unconscious behaviours, unconscious reactions, unconscious yelling, unconscious fears. Rather than choosing to be here in this instantaneous moment, being aware of the space, the peace, the stillness that you are. Then you can watch the chattering head and you're at choice. Then you can feel those emotions that come through you as indicators something needs to change in this situation. My emotions are running. X emotion is running. And you can give it your own label for the emotion that's running with you. What is it trying to tell me? Is this past garbage I've got to look at? What are my limiting beliefs here? What is it with my perceptive things, shields, values, instances in my mind and my neurology are creating me to interpret this situation so emotions are rising? There may be truth in them, that something needs to change for the better. It may just be a reaction, and you can see the outdated beliefs and emotions and things like that and dissolve them into the presence that you are, which then upgrades your operating software. So next time, you stay present. This is why you will find with the cycles of life, when you're in a good cycle, those gems that always drag you down don't seem to happen. Or maybe you do have one or two and you can work through them smoothly with more presence. That will make it easier. As we listen to I think it's a fish hawk. Will make it easier next time when the hard cycle hits or a really big situation hits. You may be able to fully hold that in the state of presence. So you have your resourcefulness and you can be there with the emotions and work at that deeper layer of beliefs. But that's the hard cycle. If you've put in the practice during the good cycle, then you've already got that fitness going. You can run that marathon and achieve it in a sub 4 minute marathon or whatever it is they aim for these days. So that's a little bit about cycles. Be aware of them. This is why you do your success journal. So when stuff gets really hard and you're in the pits and you're in the hard cycle, you can see what you did when it was good. You can see how you can work your way through and it can be good. And also when it's hard, write down really specifically how well you were practicing, what stopped you, how bad was your head. Really look at what it is you can do to flip into beingness. What is it that worked? Because if you don't look, you won't find it. That's how I've come up with the laws of grace. There were things I heard, there were things I've seen, there were things I was taught in the inner. But they all gel through and I see them repeating by those that do well with their practice and awaken properly and those that don't. Both succeeded, just they were following different paths. They were doing certain behaviours that either work to make presence and practice and awakening happen, or they were doing the exact opposite and doing the laws of success to fail. They were aiming to fail and they did. So it comes down to that earnestness. How much do you want this? And are you aware of your backside, your breathing, and your hands and the space that you are right now as you hear me go on? It's very easy to think when you're in a good cycle that you've got it. But notice what happens when you're in a crap cycle. Do you still have it? That's where it counts. Then one day your practice won't work anymore because you're just here. And that's a whole different conversation. But at least you'll have the skill set to cope because you're doing it now. By then you would have learnt over and over when the ego is in control, the separatist ego, as opposed to the unity stillness ego, the separatist ego doesn't like the stillness. Once you awaken, it kind of does, but it still resists. So this process means that you will get better at it. But it's important you keep practicing, even when you think you are abiding, because that tunes in to vigilance, and that's another video. The cycles still happen though, even when you're abiding. So there we go. Any questions on that? Please make contact. If you want mentoring and you want to come home fast, or you want to do some healing, or you want to do the Golden Ray or Reiki online and I attune you and all the rest, so you have these other gateways, please make contact. And going by the picture, good evening.